The most open secret of the US government is Area 51, the isolated and top-secret military base located in the desert 90 miles outside of Las Vegas. We all know it's there, but we don't know what happens there. Are they hiding the bodies of aliens recovered from a crash site? Teaching fighter pilots to fly UFOs? Some kind of crazy experiments that are somehow even weirder than aliens? We don't know, and anyone who tries to go there to find out will be at least stopped and detained. You can be sent to federal prison for trying to trespass, and depending on whether you resist arrest, they might even shoot you. And the thing is, it's all completely legal. The area is property of the military and designated top secret. There are plenty of secret activities and programs like Area 51 that the government did without telling us, but in recent years, some of those secret programs have been declassified, and they make Area 51 look amateur in comparison. Is the government secretly teaching pilots to fly UFOs? The answer is mostly no, but also, surprisingly, kind of. In the 1950s, the American government embarked on a secret program called Project 1794. The goal of the program was simple. They wanted to create special ships designed to shoot down Soviet bombers, a big concern during the Cold War tensions of the time. But they didn't want these ships risking an outright war, so they wanted to disguise their origins, which is why they planned to make flying saucer-style ships. That way, no one would believe any survivors or witnesses who reported the attackers. It was intended to travel 4 times the speed of sound and fly up to 18 miles straight up into the sky. But the project was canceled after about a decade when they realized that the design was unstable and steering was likely uncontrollable at high speeds. Did you know that the FBI is spying on us from the sky in small airplanes that are listed as owned by made-up companies? This was discovered back in 2015 when the Associated Press broke news that these small planes were following and spying on suspects on the ground. It was reported that these planes were stocked with both video and cell phone surveillance equipment, but no documents clarified what kind of footage and information was being gathered and on who exactly. The bigger surprise is that these planes, which have been nicknamed the FBI Air Force, are operating extrajudicially, which means that no judge has signed off to approve the actions. So just remember, if you think you see a plane following you, you may just be right. If you've ever heard of the Russian novel Dr. Zhivago, you might be surprised to learn that the CIA secretly distributed copies of the book during the Cold War. The book by author Boris Pasternak was banned in its home country because of its revolutionary ideas, many of which stood in opposition to the communist ideals of the country at the time. So the CIA worked with intelligence operatives from the Netherlands to distribute 1,000 copies of the banned book to Russians, hoping that its message would help to spread anti-communist sentiments in the Russian people. Now, this strategy started in the late 1950s, and communism ended with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in the early 90s. Did those books have anything to do with it? Russia may have been the first country to send a spacecraft in the vicinity of the moon when they launched and successfully retrieved the Lunik satellite, but America had its own impressive accomplishments at the time, including stealing the Lunik from the Russians for a night and then returning it without anyone knowing. It was the 1960s, the height of the space race, and Russia was touring with the Lunik to show off their superiority. Now, the CIA had a special interest in finding out every detail they could about the Lunik to benefit the American space program, so they went undercover to convince the truck driver transporting the satellite to get a hotel room and rest before traveling to the next town. Then, while he was asleep, the undercover operatives stole the satellite, took it apart completely, photographed and logged every piece, and then returned it before the truck driver woke up. Until the file was declassified, there was no evidence that the Russians ever knew that it had been done. Everyone knows that cats can be sneaky, squeezing into tight spaces and moving without detection when they want to, but does that mean that they could make for good spies? Well, the CIA sure thought so, and they spent millions of dollars to test if it could work. The plan was to use domesticated cats to spy inside the Soviet Union. And how exactly do you get cats to go to the right places to overhear sensitive conversations and then report back? Well, they intended to use electronic equipment to record conversations, but they couldn't just attach it to their collars, or the Soviets would find them and the plan wouldn't work. So they were going to surgically implant the spy equipment in a plan the CIA nicknamed Acoustic Kitty. Now, for obvious reasons, the plan didn't work. Cat surgery was dangerous and impractical, and anyone who has ever had a cat can tell you they go where they want, not where you tell them. The program failed and was ended in 1967. Did you know that Alaska was once full of secret spies recruited by the FBI and not even their friends and family knew about them? The year was 1950 and Cold War fears were at their peak as both America and the Soviet Union spent lots of money, time, and effort spying on each other. The FBI worried that Alaska was a weak point, with it being the closest piece of the United States to Russia, sparsely populated, and with a landscape hostile enough that pursuing invading troops would be a challenge. So they decided to start Operation Washtub, a plan that involved training average Alaskan natives in skills like decoding and other espionage tactics. Just under 90 of these everyman agents were trained for an invasion that never happened. The agents were never really needed, and the operation was eventually declassified in 2014, almost 65 years after it began. Most people know that many nuclear weapons are housed in bunkers and silos hidden just underground in the United States. But they're often surprised to find out that the US also tried to hide them underground in other countries too. In the 1960s, as part of the nuclear arms race, the Army made plans to create an elaborate series of mobile nuclear launch sites underneath an ice sheet in Greenland. This put nuclear weapons much closer to Russia, meaning a nuclear strike could take place much faster from there. But nothing like this had ever been attempted, and a lot of preparation was needed. That's where Project Iceworm came in. Its goal was to create a network of underground tunnels, buildings, and other facilities for people to live and work in. They even intended to build a nuclear power plant. And get this, they never even told Denmark about it, even though Greenland is an autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Now, the project ran for 7 years until the facilities had to be evacuated because conditions were dangerous due to shifting ice. No one ever removed the construction, which means the broken remains of Project Iceworm are still hidden under the ice today. One of the most notorious secret programs in American history is Project MKUltra. It was an illegal and dangerous research program designed to test various methods of mind control. It tested fringe ideas like hypnosis, psychic abilities, and the use of hallucinogenic drugs like LSD, often on unsuspecting test subjects who had not given permission to be tested on. The political thriller film The Manchurian Candidate was based on rumored elements of MKUltra, exploring the idea of creating the perfect military assassin who was under their control and unable to not obey secret orders. Experiments using LSD on subjects who didn't know about it resulted in at least one death from a man who threw himself out a window due to a terrifying experience he didn't understand. In the early 1970s, the director of the CIA had all files and documents about the experiments destroyed, but public pressure led to an investigation to learn what dangerous and illegal activities the CIA did during MKUltra. There have been many secret programs and campaigns that the US government has been involved in and never told the public about. On occasion, they declassify certain parts of our secret history, and we find out decades after the fact that we have done some questionable or outright illegal things. And the only thing more shocking than some of the things we've learned from declassified government documents is the fact that there are so many more documents still classified that we may never find out about. That's it for this episode of No Way That's Legal. For more wild but real stories of the intersection of the legal world and the real world, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.